Hello, I hope you're doing well. My name is Brian Bishop, and I am a mental performance coach with Armor Equip Empower Mental Performance. I'm really excited to be coming to you through this coaching module where I look to provide helpful skills that allow you to optimize your performance more consistently. Before I get into those skills, a little bit more about me. I'm a 12-and-a-half-year veteran of the U.S. Army where I served in the Military Police Corps as a commander, law enforcement operations leader, and team member on multiple comprehensive fitness task forces. During my time as a leader, at various levels, I sought to implement performance enhancing, mental resiliency, and suicide prevention techniques in a high stress occupation with the goal of optimizing performance in stress inducing chaotic environments to include combat. So that's just a little bit more about me and who I am. Now, as I prepare to dive a little bit deeper in, I just want to start off with a quick question to get those thought juices flowing and provide you with a frame of reference for you to refer back to throughout this module as you learn about each of these concepts, okay? So here's the question. Have you ever had an off day on the job where decision-making wasn't at its best, energy was either too high or too low, you were hyper-responsive to routine work or routine interactions, sleep quality wasn't at its best, you were really struggling with a lot of mental distractions, or you just had a hard time focusing? And to take it a step further, have you ever had successive days where this was the case? The fact of the matter is, in high stress, high stakes work, this is the case more often than we care to admit. That said, the purpose of this coaching module is to provide you with a set of mental performance enhancing skills that fit within shaping an overall mental performance routine that allows you to more consistently reach your optimal zone of natural excellence or your optimal zone of functioning, as you may hear me say, both on and off the job. And so what is mental performance? Well, mental performance is a subset of mental health. And when you are performing more optimally, more consistently, both mentally and physically, then your mental health, your well-being, and your resilience is more than likely where it needs to be. Okay? So that being said, where does it all start? Well, it starts with what you see here behind me, which I call the cycle of performance. And why is that important? Well, poor performance is one of the first indicators of a compromised mental health state, as well as a good indicator of some disruption in this natural cycle that we engage upon on a consistent basis. That is, preparation, we didn't prepare appropriately, we didn't recover fully or adequately, or we muscled through performance where we could have flowed. Within this cycle, performance revolves around a continuous cycle of regrouping, refocusing, and responding. And these are what I call the 3 R's of optimal performance. We all embark upon this cycle within what we do that matters to us, and how effectively we engage this cycle, which is our recover, prepare, or perform, determines our sustainability of high performance as well as our level of resilience. Typically within this cycle, the 2 most overlooked and underemphasized phases are recovery, where our regrouping happens, and then our preparation, where our refocusing happens. Disrupting this cycle through either partially or not at all engaging these very critical phases could result in performance breakdowns and have a very negative impact on our resilience. So the goal is to fully engage each of these phases through the implementation of these performance enhancing concepts that are interwoven into established and effective routines that do 3 really, really important things, okay? So one of the first things this does is these concepts bring awareness to our physical and mental states. For example, progressive muscle relaxation brings awareness to tension we may be unconsciously carrying around throughout the day, as well as brings awareness to our activation or anxiety levels or states that are contributing to this continual tension we're carrying around. Secondly, these concepts help to prevent both stress injury and performance breakdowns, as mentioned earlier, like within the question I asked. And then lastly, these concepts help to proactively enhance our functioning and our well-being As you seek to implement these on a consistent basis daily in your life, okay? This is where we get that proactive element from, okay? So you've heard me say throughout this time here, you've heard me mention full engagement. Well, what is full engagement? Well, full engagement is directing our attention, our focus, and our efforts equally within each phase of this cycle so that we can maximize the effectiveness of what that phase of the performance cycle has to offer. Okay? Full engagement is where you find your ready and resilient state. At your ready and resilient state is where you will be able to more consistently perform optimally in high pressure situations. Okay? So this is the cycle of performance we're in and what we want to get out of fully engaging that cycle as we should. Okay? That being said, within these short segments, I'll look to discuss each of these concepts individually as they relate to each phase of the cycle. Now, some of the concepts may relate to multiple phases. However, how we implement that concept, as well as the intent we're seeking to get out of that concept, will differ between each phase. For example, breath work. Breath work is a concept that applies to all three phases. However, if we're applying breath work in recovery, we may be looking for that longer duration of breath work, and we're looking for achieving more of that relaxed state within our recovery so that we can maximize the effectiveness of that phase and regroup. Whereas in preparation phase, breathwork may look more like getting activated or achieving an activated state, or as well as achieving some bit of relaxation to narrow in more on that optimal zone of functioning. And then breathwork implemented here in the performance phase is really short. I mean, we're talking milliseconds, one deep composing breath so that we can continue appropriate response in the heat of the moment. Okay, so this is an example of a concept that applies to multiple phases within the cycle of performance. Okay, so I will also include an associated resource link with most of these concepts so that you can see in more depth how this skill is performed so that you can maximize its effectiveness. Lastly, in one of the final modules, I'll be providing tips to help you establish effective routines that work for you and enhance your functioning. As you learn about each of these concepts, what I want you to do is to be continually thinking about where you can incorporate these skills into your daily life so that you can implement them immediately following the segments. The idea is to train these skills and concepts daily so that they become habit and your go-to when you feel unsettled, out of control, or performance just isn't at its best. Okay? So let's dive in.